Hard.
Hard.
Yeah. Pause. All right, guys.
I did say it like that to her.
How you guys doing? I see the mood is good. All right, so we're gonna kind of pick up where we left off yesterday, but guess what we're gonna talk? All right, so drug addiction and alcoholism. It's a disease of lies, okay? But more than that, we're gonna talk more about the lies. We're gonna talk about denial today, okay? Because here's the thing. Do you want to say something? What did you say?
I was just saying the truth of our nature.
Well, it's so weird when it comes to denial, right? Like, when it comes to this shit, especially the drug addiction and alcoholism, or let's take it one step further, being in an unhealthy relationship or a toxic relationship, or being with being with a person you're really not supposed to be with, why are we the last ones to know?
Because ain't nobody lie to me like me.
You ever heard what denial stands for? Don't even know I'm lying. Well, it's a good, so listen, all right, we're going to go around the room, but we're going to talk about, as far as your addiction and alcoholism or drug addiction, it's all the same to me. So if I say addiction, I mean alcoholism, whatever. I'll tell you, like, the biggest lie I told myself is I'm only hurting myself. Okay? I'm not even going to write it down if you guys want to. Okay. I'm only hurting myself. I want to hear a lie that you have told yourself.
It'll be all right.
It'll be okay.
I mean, it'll be all
I'll
right.
figure it out. I'll
Figure it out later. Yeah.
It helps my anxiety.
Helps your anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One more.
What'd you say?
Yeah, one more.
One more.
My Lakers.
Really?
Yeah, like
Ghost,
you know,
phantom pains?
No, like poor me. I'm in
Yeah.
chronic pain, so I'm gonna.
Yeah.
That's a good one though.
Yeah.
Dude, for sleep.
Good for sleep. Let me ask you something. Were you at the point where you would wake up in the middle of the night and have to drink more to go to sleep?
No.
No. Okay. Listen. Talk to anybody that's gotten there. That's the one thing. Like alcohol, heroin, and painkillers really share in common is that eventually you get to the point where you'll need it every 2 or 3 or 4 hours to stop getting shakes, to sleep, to just get right.
You
know
can
what I
set
mean?
your clock off at 3 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, talk about being a slave, right? Like you can't even sleep the night, or you can't even tie one on. Hello, Robin.
Hi.
Nice to see you. You can't even tie one on and then sleep a good night's sleep, pass out. You know what I mean? Who are you looking for?
Adrian,
He's not here.
He's another.
you don't know where he is?
He's a men's house.
Ask him to get him.
Okay.
He's laying on the couch in the men's house.
Sleeping.
What's I was gonna say? He'd either be snoring here or snoring there. All right, so Jody, hit me with a lie that you told yourself. Here's the thing: a lot of the times we tell somebody else these lies, or we tell them ourselves, and then we look back on it and say, "I can't believe."
Well, it was just like you were telling him, have I ever woke up thinking, yeah, I need to drink another one? Yes, I told myself that. I thought I'm liberated from the day that day. Oh yeah, I still got about 2 hours before I go to work. I'm down another one.
Chris, you want to know?
So, well, Chris, give me a lie real quick before you go,
That lie before.
and give me one that has to do with the denial. It'll be different. All right, how about it'll be different this time? Yeah, it makes me better almost.
More creative.
Frank.
The biggest lie? I'm gonna stop today. Today gonna be my last day.
Well, tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Never again, maybe?
Yeah, never again. That's it for me. I'm gonna buy this and make it.
I got a couple.
Give me a couple. Brent, the overachiever. I asked one example. He's got two. No, please.
Just one.
Yeah.
Today I can control it.
Yeah.
I don't need this anymore.
Yeah. When it comes to,
I got this.
I got
My
this.
favorite,
yeah.
which is the one that always brought me down.
Oh yeah.
That was the one that always got me.
I'll tell you, as soon as our, listen, guys, I promise you, when it comes to this, as soon as our ego takes over, we're effed. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like, you know, This whole thing was there to humble us to begin with. So as soon as we start going, oh, I got this, we get slammed in the face immediately. You want to share?
Yeah, I mean, the old, I don't drink every day, I just drink on the weekends, so I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good one. Well, hey, how about my thing, right? Like, I'm a wild drug addict, but I pay bills. I go to, you know what I'm saying? Like, all this stuff, one, that normal human beings should do.
Responsible.
Yeah, I'm responsible. I put all this stuff up like, hey, you know.
I got a mortgage.
Well, listen, but I'm not gonna lie, like, my definition of a drug addict and alcoholic was much different than that book's. Like, now, my definition of a drug addict and alcoholic, it comes from that book, and it comes from our attitude, our perception, our behavior. What happens when we put it into our body, that type of stuff. I kind of looked at a drug addict as someone who did drugs every day and didn't have nothing. You know what I mean? Like, that's because other than that, I was just a recreational drug user that can happen to afford to do drugs 7 times a day. You know what I mean? Like, in my mind, like, that's, I mean, and but like I tell you guys, we're the last ones to know. Like, the denial is thick. We are the last ones to know. If I want to know if you have a drug problem or an alcohol problem, years ago, if I wanted to know if you had one, Kyle, I'm just going to ask the people closest to you. They'll know.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? They know way better than
And
us.
I'd be in denial about that,
Yeah.
like with them, you know?
Yeah. Dan,
I was an opportunist for drugs and alcohol.
you were an opportunist?
Doesn't matter what the fuck is going on, it's
That's not even close to the question I'm
I know
asking.
that.
I am now
Lying
standing
to
here
myself, I
confused.
lied to myself. How was I lying to myself? I would actually be a different character to get whatever the fuck I wanted.
Okay, well, all right, and that's a good example, but my thing is this, I'm trying to show you guys that, here's the thing, even sitting in a room like this, the denial has a good hold of you. Do you understand what I'm saying? When I was sitting in your seat, the denial, I had no idea how serious of a problem this was. I had no idea how sick I was. I only know that now because I'm 4.5 years removed from it. Do you understand what I'm saying? When I was sitting in your seat, I thought I had a substance abuse problem. And here's the thing, that's what a lot of people told me. Mike, you're a great guy, you just need to stop doing heroin. I'm like, all right, if I can just stop doing heroin, I wouldn't be here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or painkillers or whatever it was. But, so, here's the thing, right? Like, I know it seems crazy for us because, like, honestly, on some level, we kind of think we know everything. Why? Because, you know, I know you guys. Like, I know, I really got to know you last night. You guys kick ass in life. You guys kick, I mean, you're overachievers. You guys, you know, really, you know, exceptional when it comes to work, and, you know, your personalities are very attractive, and you're funny, and you're smart, and, you know, like, you know, you'll hear all the time, drug addicts and alcoholics, smarter than the average people. This is the deal thing. Usually you only hear it in treatment centers and AA meetings. Our families aren't going around going, man, that's the smartest person I've ever seen. Because the people that do the stuff we do, you know what I'm saying? Not necessarily the smartest, but our intelligence, and we're sharp, and we are, I'm just joking. We're sharp and we're quick and we're all that other stuff. But when it comes to this, we don't see it right. This is the disease of perception and lies. Our perception's off because we're lying to ourselves. We are constantly telling ourselves, it's not that bad, it's not that serious. Anybody else in here have somebody in their life they look at and go, God damn, man, he's way worse than me. No?
I'd be always saying that, but I'd be in denial about myself.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Here's the thing, like, I don't want to talk, like, let's pretend like we're out in the world still using and do. I mean, listen, I used to hang out with people, you know, because water seeks its own level. So when you're using, and a lot of times when we're using, we're isolated. At this point in our disease, we're isolated and we're not around other people and stuff like that. But we still keep in, I don't know about you, but I still kept in contact with a few and had a few people around. And, you know, a lot of the people, you know, it was easy because, you know, I'd be like, man, I don't smoke crack and do that and do that. You know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden, like, my heroin, painkiller, Xanax, ecstasy addiction wasn't so bad just because I didn't smoke crack. You know, and I would, I mean, you know, I mean, the amount of denial that I was in was crazy. And the thing is, all right, so anybody in here have a relative that's in an unhealthy relationship?
I did,
Yeah.
recently, but
Well, you know, or even, it could be abusive, it could be toxic, it could be with somebody that whatever. But how come we can look at them and see all their problems for what it is? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we see it so clear from this angle, but we can't see our own stuff from our own angle. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, why is that?
Because our perception's off. We've manipulated and lied to ourselves so many times that we don't see things the right way. Like, that's really what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do here with this whole thing is just convince you, or just give you the inkling that maybe, just maybe, even as you sit here today, maybe you're not seeing things from the proper perspective or angle. Do you understand? And listen, here's the thing. It's almost impossible for you where you're at. You know what I mean? Kyle, how many days now?
34.
34. Great start. Great. You've come a long way. You're doing all the right things. You know, it's not much. You understand what I'm saying? Like, step 2 is being restored to sanity.
I'm still the same.
It's not. It's coming to believe that a power greater than us can restore us to sanity. Which implies that we're crazy, which implies that we don't look at things the right way. Mr. Sims, how you doing, my friend?
Good.
So we're talking about denial. I want to know, what's one of the lies you told yourself or told your people that really breaks down to denial? Like, you know, because listen, you do drugs like I do drugs, right? Like, there's no acceptable reason for smoking crack or doing heroin, right? Like, we can't just tell people, like, I'm just trying to relax.
I tell them I don't get high.
Flat out lie. Yeah. Headlights are on, money's gone, hanging out in the bathroom.
They don't ever see me. They don't matter what they hear.
Oh, really?
You ever tell yourself they don't know?
Yes.
Did you ever tell yourself they don't know?
They don't know.
Oh.
They only heard me.
Well, so you don't go around your people at all?
Not hardly, especially when I'm getting high.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Here's the thing. Here's a red flag. You like to come around and hang out and see the grandkids or see whoever, and all of a sudden you're not coming around no more. Like, we know you're getting high. You're like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, they don't know.
Yeah.
On the weekends, when on holiday, I'll go around, right?
Yeah.
So that's the typical thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, if they ask, I just say, they say all shit, because they know I'm lying. Yeah, they know I'm lying already.
All right, so let me ask you this. I want to, you know, what about this? When we're in our addiction, what's the stuff how do we, what's our image of ourselves?
Not good.
No good, piece of shit, I'm worthless, I'm this, I'm that.
Piece of shit, crazy woman.
Is that true?
It depends on if I'm
No.
hired.
No. That's not true. That's not true. When we are like we're calling ourselves a piece of shit, or hating ourselves, or we're no good, or we're this, or we're that, we're beating ourselves up. We think we're punishing ourselves for making the mistakes we made. Do you understand what I'm saying? But like, come on, like RJ, like, you've told me what was going on. You say, I'd be sitting there with my fiance and the kid, and all I'd want to do is drink, and, you know, I'd leave and I'd go drink, and it's like, here's the thing, you know, that doesn't make you a bad person. Nothing like a terrible person, and you're for sure not a piece of shit from that. You're sick. You know what I mean? Like, you're sick. Like, that stuff is calling you. Like, you have an illness, a disease. Like, that's where it was at. But you're for sure not the worst person. But when you left to go drink, what did you start saying? You know, you know what I'm saying? And that's what we do to ourselves. And so, are we not lying to ourselves then?
I'm not,
Why not?
because I think the same thing sober.
What do you mean?
Like, I think that sober.
You think what's sober?
That's like this stuff.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. So let me ask you something. You're sober now, and you think that. Are you not lying to yourself?
I mean,
You might not think so, but like, I know if I have a conversation with you, I didn't I just say, why is it so much easier for other people? Like, I asked you about, you know, does anybody in here have family members that are in toxic relationships or bad relationships? And it's like, we can all see it as clear as day, but they're in the middle of it. And do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we know it's headed for disaster, or it's constantly disaster. So, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, maybe your perception's off. Maybe you don't see things the right way.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
No, I know. That's the whole thing. Listen, this whole thing is it is a day-by-day process, like where you're constantly getting better. I was just talking to a friend today, and I'm like, man, if you could see what everybody else sees in you, you'd be a giant.
Yeah, if
You know
you're
what
a
I mean?
piece of shit, you wouldn't try to be better than yourself.
Yeah, no, that's all. I mean, I feel better about myself now.
Well, let me ask you something. When you're calling yourself a no-good piece of shit who's worth nothing and you hate yourself, where does that come from?
Resentments.
You what?
Your people?
Resentments.
No, that comes, like, when you're in here and you're doing that comes from your ego. Listen, there's no higher spiritual crime. Listen to me. There's no higher spiritual crime than that morbid self-reflection. Because let me ask you something. Whether you're sober or you're using, but let's just pretend like we've all gotten sober and we're in here for 10, 15, 20 days, 2 days already, whatever, and we're having a rough time and we're like, man, I'm no good, I'm a piece of shit, this, that, the other thing, right? Well, here's the thing. You're still just thinking about yourself, right?
Yeah.
And we are selfish people in our disease, but by nature, we're not really selfish people. Like, we're really giving and kind and loving and want to do as much as we can for everybody. But when we're in our addiction, we become selfish because our addiction is, and like I said, even in our addiction, that doesn't mean we won't give the shirt off our back or do this or do that. But when we're thinking about drinking or getting high 90 times a day, we're still thinking about ourselves. So we're in that morbid self-reflection, right? Like, man, I'm a piece of shit, I'm no good, I might as well, they're better off without me, like, what's wrong with me? How about this one? Why can't I be normal, right? So here's the thing, that morbid self-reflection, there's no higher spiritual crime. You know why? Because I promise you, I'm no good to any of you if I'm in that state of mind. And who else am I no good for?
Yourself? Yeah.
Exactly. So what am I doing? I'm wallowing in self-pity, where here's the thing. Guys, here's the thing. You may have done some things in the past that you regret. Me too. You know what I'm saying? I could write a list. I have flashbacks sometimes. Not like Vietnam flashbacks, but like I'll just have this thought of like some really foul lie or some manipulative shit I did to my ex-wife, and my face actually gets red because I get embarrassed about it. And I'm like, I can't believe I did that. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. What are you really trying to do? Like, what are you trying to do? You're trying to move, like RJ, you're trying to move forward to be like a really good fiance, husband, father, right? So why are we going to be worried about the past? That is living in the problem. What do we really need to be doing?
Living in the solution.
Living in the solution. So it's like this. Okay, so what can I do about it to not repeat those mistakes? Do you understand what I'm saying? Instead of, man, I'm not, because listen, man, when we are beating ourselves with the baseball bat, right? I mean, I'm no good, I'm a piece of shit, I'm this and that. How long do you think that lasts on the outside when it's, man, I'm no good, I'm this, I hate myself, I'm this, I'm that? Especially, too, if your people are like, man, you are no good, like, right? Because some of us have situations like that where, we've done some damage and the people like us are like, yeah, man, you are no good, this, that. How long before we reach for that bottle or that pill or that powder or whatever? How long? Because here's the thing, man. That's an uncomfortable place to be, right? It's pain, it's fear, it's anxiety, it's all that stuff. How long do you think we can do that before we drink or get high?
No, but
Not long, right? Not long.
It's
Like,
a powder keg.
it's a powder keg. And then, whether, you know what I'm saying? Whether we were sober for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year, once we start using, then what happens? Starts all over again, because here's me. Go to treatment, get out, get sober, right? Now I'm moving through life. Just got out of treatment. I don't like to be the guy who just went to treatment, right? I'm walking around with that, like embarrassed and ashamed. You know what I mean? All this stuff. And now I don't have any of my self-medicating stuff, right? So now I'm just walking through, right? And I've kind of made a mess at home, and I've made a mess in the world, and I'm trying to put this all stuff back together, and I'm just not liking myself, and I'm just hating myself, and I'm just holding on because I know I need to stay sober. But here's the thing, I don't want to be sober, right? Like for me,
That's what you'd be thinking, yeah.
yeah, I'm just talking about every time I would go to treatment, I'd go back out into the real world, and I didn't want to be sober. Because here's the thing, my whole entire life, I associate sober with miserable. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I've never been happy being sober, so when you tell me I need to be sober, I'm thinking, oh, you just want me to be miserable. And I understand why they want me to be miserable, because when I'm using, I'm no good and I'm messing everything up too, you know what I mean? But like, I'm walking through and I'm going to some meetings and I'm doing some certain things, but I have no real evidence that I can be happy being sober. So I'm just going through life and I'm just holding on, and I usually make it 3, 4, 5, 6 months a couple of times. I make it 6 months sober, and then, and here's the thing, I know I need to stay sober, but really on the left side of me, all I want to do is get high. The right side of me is going, Mike, you really can't, you're going to mess everything up and you're going to hurt people and this, right? So then I finally, restless, irritable, discontent, anxious, angry, nervous, uncomfortable enough where I decide to reach for that. And the minute I put in my system, now I'm really a piece of shit who can't stay sober. I'm fucking everything up. You know what I'm saying? Because now I'm not even sober. Now I'm not even sober. At least I was sober and carrying this stuff around with me. Now, once I put it in, now I'm weak. Now I'm no good. You know what I mean? Times 10.
It's like the class you did yesterday.
Yeah.
You know,
That, exactly. It's like that class I did yesterday. And then, so now I'm using, and my ex-wife is going, or my sister or my mother or anybody in my world, you know? Man, something's not right, right? No, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm good. Maybe I don't use for a couple of days, I kind of come, whatever it is, right? To the point where eventually it's obvious, I'm using every day, and eventually it's, what are you gonna do now? Now you gotta go back to treatment. And I would do the same thing over and over. But like I keep trying to say, Tully, do you like to drink so much? Or if you're like me, I didn't really even like to do drugs that much. I just hated being sober. Because when I'm sober, I'm inside my own head, and I am uncomfortable. Like that, break down the word disease, right? Dis-ease. I've got a dis-ease of self that I've had my whole entire life, and all I've ever been trying to do is just feel better. So when I'm younger, like me and you were talking yesterday, when I'm younger, it's sports, right? And I like to box, and I like to play basketball, and I like sports, and I like hanging out, and I like laughing and talking shit, and doing all this other stuff, right? But the older I get, it's always something, you know what I mean? Like, all right, well, that works for a little bit, and then it's this, and then it's girls, and then it's money, and then it's cars, and then it's this, and eventually you find, if you're like me, you find something like heroin, or cocaine, or alcohol, and you just go crazy. And you guys said you seen the other day, you watched that video, where you see how, when you, hey, Adrian.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how you doing? When you use a certain amount of substances for a certain amount of time, you actually change your brain chemistry. So you kind of F yourself. You know what I mean? Stick a roll in it there. You know what I mean? And the only way to un-F yourself, if you believe in it, and here's the thing, if you believe in it, is to work the steps. And I understand why you might not believe in it, because I didn't. Here's the thing, even if someone like me was up there saying it, in my mind, if I was sitting in your seat, I'd be like, yeah, that works for you, cool. Why would it work for me? You know what I mean? Why would it work for me?
Does anything else work for me?
Well, here's the thing that I couldn't see. Here's what the denial and the lies I told myself. What does it matter if it could work for you or not? What you were doing definitely wasn't working for you. So why not try it? But the thing was, I would try it here or there, but I didn't wholeheartedly put myself into it, And remember what we read yesterday about that, like having contempt prior to investigation? I had contempt prior, because like I said, Kyle or Z or RJ, if they told me it could work for them, I'm like, okay, well, that's cool, but how could it work for me? Because I just really didn't, I don't know, like I need some real proof. And just because you're telling me that it worked for you, like maybe me and you didn't have the same type of drug problem. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like I would look at it like, oh man, whatever. It's like, and that's still part of the denial. That's still part of the lie. It's like, why would it work for RJ or Kyle and not for me? Like, what makes me different? You know what I mean? Like, we are so much more alike than we are different. The differences we have are nothing. You know what I mean? And especially, like I said, you know what I mean? Like, we're what? I don't know, 85% water? I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, you know what I mean? Use, how much? 75, whatever. But I don't know if that's the Earth, though, either, right? That could be the Earth.
That is the Earth.
That's what I'm saying.
We're 85, yeah.
Okay, whatever, it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? That's inconsequential, like, we're much more alike each other than we're not. And if it did work for me, why couldn't it work for you? And here's the thing, like, why not try it? Because what you've been doing hasn't been working. I like that guy Gordon where he comes up and says it, like, you'll hear it in meetings sometimes. Find someone that you like what they have and do them. And Gordon will say, I don't really care if you like what I have. I just want you to not like what you don't. You know what I mean? Like, I just want you to not like what you have. And that's really the truth, right? Like, don't try to be like me or be like Gordon. Just try not to be like you out there. Because really, here's the thing. When you're a drug addict or an alcoholic, whether you're sober or not sober and not have worked the steps, you're going to have that war going on inside your head. You'll be trying to do the right thing, but you're going to want to do the wrong thing. You understand what I'm saying? You're never going to be happy being sober unless you work the steps, you clear that stuff out. You kind of just you stay sober long enough where you kind of settle in and working the steps, and you put some stuff down, and you learn about yourself, and you do an inventory, and you kind of see the things that motivate you. What do I tell you all the time? Someone please shock the shit out of me. What is this disease rooted in?
Self-esteem.
And
fear.
yes, low self-esteem and fear. It's right here. It's at the root. The rest of the shit just grows out. Where do you think the low self-esteem comes from? Here's the thing. If you ask me, for me, it was always there. It's always why I was always trying to be the overachiever and always trying to outdo the other people I was around. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because if I'm better at boxing and basketball or whatever than Kyle and this one and that one, then I must be doing something right, right? So I'm always trying. But here's where the real low self-esteem comes from. That I'm no good, I'm a piece of shit, I hate myself. You know what I mean? Because when you start the consequences and you start using and you start letting people down and you're using and, because listen, let's be real guys, let's be real. With a show of hands, who knows for a long time, the way they use or do drugs is not the way they were put on earth to live.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know for me, for a long time, I'm like, this is not what I'm, like, hating myself just because I'm leaning on something so much. Yeah.
Why'd you have to use Kyle as an example? You trying to get a leg up on him?
You're gonna make. Man, they look like Finding Nemo, a little. Oh man. So that conflict that's going on, that low self-esteem, the living in the fear. I promise you guys, there's a way out. What are you willing to do for it? How much are you willing to try? Whatever it takes. And I used to say that shit too. But then, like, get a couple of months and you start feeling okay, and you start thinking you're okay, and you start kind of falling back on what you did to get okay. Do you understand that this disease is classified as a mental health disease? How many of us have heard the stories about people with mental health disease that were doing great and then they stopped taking their meds? And then some other, why they stopped taking their meds? Because they were feeling great. Why did they feel great? Because they were taking their meds. But they were, they were feeling great, so they stopped taking them.
They feel normal.
Did that with my blood pressure.
Yeah.
Oh, my blood pressure's good now. I'll stop taking my
I know.
medicine.
I mean, dude, is that not insane? Listen, I'm telling you, anybody that you ever see in AA or NA meetings or anything like that, anybody that's ever had real good sobriety time, worked the steps, really was doing good, and that relapsed, it could have been a divorce, it could have been whatever it was that none of them will tell you, I relapsed because of divorce, I relapsed because of this, why'd you relapse? Because I stopped doing, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, like maybe they did go through a divorce, and instead of leaning into the program and doing what they were supposed to do, they, maybe being in bed, whatever it was, but they shied away from it. Yeah, they shied away from it, and next thing you know.
Found an excuse.
Yeah, because and listen, guys, let's do a kind of a step one right now. Let's do a step one right now. Whatever you've got going on, no matter how bad you feel right now, is there anybody in here that maybe thinks that getting high or drinking, things are going to get better?
No.
If you can keep that I mean, tattoo that shit to your hand. Not really, right? That it's only gonna make it worse, right? Like if you can just hold on for 6 months and really push forward, pray every day for the willingness, pray every day, and just push forward, and just know that it's only gonna make things worse. That might get you over the hump. That might get you to go. Because here, like really, like I promise you, whatever you got going on today, you walk out and drink, or get high, it is only gonna make things worse. It's just the way it is. All right, come here. I want to ask you something.
And Ashton will be next.
Ashton will be next. I don't know where it is. So let me ask you something. We're talking about denial, right? What's one of the things you told yourself or you told your people that when you look back on now, you're like, that was a lot. Like, that was complete bullshit. But we say it in our disease. We say it in our addiction. Or maybe it's something you told yourself, like me and Frank, right? We're both like dope fiends, right? You know how many times I told myself, well, I'll just use every other day. That way I don't get physically addicted. I mean, yeah, I know. Wait, Matthew. You've told yourself that one too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's why he's laughing. He's not laughing because it's ridiculous. He's laughing because he fell for it. Well, it is ridiculous, but you fell for it too. Like we do, we'll tell ourselves that. Like, I just won't. What about this one? I just won't do it 3 days in a row, right?
I think the biggest lie I told myself was that I wasn't powerful.
Well, dude, that lie will get us
I
every
think
time.
that's the biggest lie everyone that in rehab tells
I'm in
themselves.
control.
is if you were,
Yeah,
would you be?
yeah. Here's the thing. Every time I went to treatment, I was convinced that as long as I didn't hang out with certain people, do the drugs I sell, do this, do that I'd be fine. I knew I was powerless when I had this. I knew I was powerless when I was doing it, if I was strung out and this and that. I didn't know I was powerless until I had 6 months sober. Guys, listen to this. This is a true story. 6 months sober. Got my 6 month chip. Went to work. I used to go to AA meetings before work. Got my 6 month chip. If you would have told me, Mike, you're going to be doing heroin at 7 o'clock in the morning, I would have laughed in your face. After I leave the AA meeting, on my way to work, I bump into somebody that owes me money. I let him. Come on, man. I gave him money one night when we were out, and I bump into him, and instead of giving me money, he gives me 7 grams of heroin.
Like before, and then.
Yeah. That started me on the run that ended all runs, that wound up in treatment the last time and here now. You know what I mean? But, I mean, when I tell you, listen, I went to an AA meeting every single day at 6 o'clock in the morning. That should show you that, like, I would, right? Doesn't that show you I'm serious? Like, I'm getting up early, I'm going, I'm saying stuff in meetings, I'm getting chips, like, I'm really willing, yeah, like, I'm really trying. And I bump into this guy, and he's like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, give it to me.
Here's a quarter ounce of heroin.
Yeah, when I tell you, saying no, calling my sponsor, running away, locking my car doors, driving up, like none of that came into play. You know what I said? I'll just do a little now and I'll get needles at lunchtime. You know what I mean? Because I had a meeting with a bunch of supervisors and whatever, like that's when I realized I can't even be in the same zip code as this shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, listen, there were plenty of times after I went to treatment or I detoxed on the street or whatever it was, there were plenty of times where I planned out the relapse. You know what I mean? Like, you know what? I'm going to get high. You know what I mean? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But, I mean, that was powerless. That shit was put in front of me. The thought of no, I mean, it never even occurred to me. Like, when you guys talk about it, like, when you're out and you're like, that's it, I'm never drinking again, I'm never doing this, I'm never doing that, and then suddenly the car pulls up to the liquor store by itself. Mm-hmm. I've heard that story so many times, like, do you understand what I mean? Like, over the years, that's what I'm saying, over the years I've heard that story so many times, but I get that. Like, autopilot, right? Like, well, that's what I'm saying, like.
Where the fuck, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, autopilot, like, do you not think that your brain is working on a devious level? You know what I mean? Like, that should scare you. Like I was telling you, like, your brain is lying to you. It's setting you up to kill you. And the lies that tell you, they always start out with, I can handle it, I can control it, just one, nobody will find out. You understand what I'm saying? It always starts out with that lie, and then once we get that stuff in our system, we're off to the races, and if we're lucky, we wind up in a place like this, or we detox on the street and we start the thing all over again. But if you know if you knew, listen to me, if you knew how powerful this disease was, if you knew how hard it was to beat it, you'd be begging us for more groups. You wouldn't be going, oh man, another group. You'd be like, Mike, can you come at 2 in the morning and teach us shit? You know what I mean? Because it's just real life or death stuff. If you think that this isn't, who said it before? When you say I got this, if you're not doing everything you can to beat this thing, it's going to beat you. You need, you know what I'm saying? Like, so when, all of a sudden you don't need this or you don't need that, or this group is this or this group is that, your hubris will be, what do they say? The pride before the fall?
It only gets worse the longer it goes, too.
Listen, it only gets worse. You don't ever hear anybody going, you know what, this relapse really wasn't that bad. No,
They got better.
No, and like I said, look at Pam when she was here. She goes, this was the worst. Like, I'm like, Pam, you say that every time. I get it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Every single time it gets worse. Like, if,
At least she's telling the truth.
Well, yes, it is. No, she is. Seriously. Like, every time it gets worse, it never gets better. It kicks your ass more and more. It humbles you more and more. So listen, we're talking about lies, we're talking about denial. Let's talk about resentment a little bit. Like I tell you all the time, I was the one, I coach Little League, I go to daddy-daughter dances, I pay bills, I take them here, I do this. What about me, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How's that not a lie?
Every day at 5:30 or 6.
Yeah, and is that not a lie we're telling ourselves? That we deserve to poison ourselves,
Yeah.
right? That's not a lie?
You deserve something. Alcohol's
Well, you know what I'm saying? First of all, what do we really deserve?
the love and respect of our family.
Well, that's different. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't mean we deserve a standing ovation every time we walk in the door. No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, but here we are. We're like, you know what? I did A, B, and C. I deserve to poison the shit out of myself.
What's wrong?
I deserve to scare everybody I come in contact with for the next 4 hours because they're not going to know what condition I am. You know what I mean? They're not going to know if I'm going to kill a family of 4 on the way. They're not going to know if he's going to overdose in the bathroom with the kids out. You know what I'm saying? That's really what we're saying.
Yeah.
But to ourselves, we're saying, I deserve to get right. I deserve a little me time. I deserve, listen, how about this? I deserve to get a buzz, right? People in here don't know nothing about a buzz. That was when we were like teenagers. You know what I mean? No, we tie one on. We get, but that's the lie we tell ourselves. Dude, I'm telling you, the biggest lie I ever told myself was, I'm only hurting myself. And like I said, I would tell them that shit. I'm like, worry about you. Listen, I'll be fine, how selfish is that? For me, you know what I'm saying? How selfish is that? But that's, listen.
Like, I'm not doing that.
What did I tell you before? What does denial stand for? Don't even know I'm lying? I didn't even know. I was so ass backwards in a lot of ways. But like I said, don't think those resentments aren't lies. The stuff anything that you justify or rationalize unacceptable behavior with is a lie. Because we know it's unacceptable. We just rationalize and lie as a way to skirt around our conscience so that we can do this stuff, even though we know we shouldn't be doing it. Hey, who you look for? Oh, yeah, I thought so. So, what's going on, guys? Any lines or anybody else in here got a resentment? Anybody? Dude, when I tell you, this is the thing. You need to. If you're sitting in this room, guys, listen what I'm about to tell you. Listen what I'm about to tell you. Guys, forget about the fly. I'm about to give you some real good shit here. Being shitty people does not sit right with you. If being a shitty person, lying, manipulating, hiding, if that was okay with you, you would not be sitting in this room. You'd be out there. Your conscience is telling you something needs to change. You either get right with your conscience and align yourself with that, or you're going to have that war that goes on inside your head that is completely destroying you. You understand? That's what it is. And really, anything you gotta rationalize and justify is not anything you should be doing. Is that what we do with our drinking? Or I mean, like I said, like anytime at 5:30, man, I did this, I did that, I worked hard. You know what I mean? Like when you've got to like convince yourself. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you know.
Should I do this?
Party home?
And here's the thing, here's the disease and the sickness part of it. You convince yourself that, and like I tell you, when you leave here, if you drink and get high, you're really buying the lie that your life is better with drugs and alcohol. Even though on the cerebral part of your brain, you know that's not true. You know that's not true. But you will buy that lie that my life is better with alcohol. And then you'll drink, and it'll make it worse. Shh. Do you understand what I'm saying? You'll drink and make it, guys. You'll drink and you'll make it worse. And then probably do it again the next day. You know what I mean? Like be trapped in this cycle. All right. That was good stuff, guys. Thank you for your participation. I hope maybe you got something out of it.
Always do.
Thank you. Love you guys.